Hello. I am going to try to make this as informal as possible. We were asked to look at the question, is LEED lean? Well, I guess you kind of have to know what lean is. Who's ever heard of a Kaizen event? Anybody?
Oh, that's you.
That's me. There's Kyle.
And that's
Pretty
me.
Pictures, aren't they? Let's start with the definition. Well, okay, I asked what Kaizen was. Kaizen is a process that Toyota brought over to the United States in the 1990s. It's a process for leaning or making more efficient manufacturing. So that's where lean first came in. Not to be confused with LEED. It's a combination of operational research and practical development in construction to adapt lean manufacturing principles and practices to the end-to-end design and construction. Does it make sense? Okay, what does lean manufacturing entail? It's the business of model of collection of technical methods emphasizing the elimination of waste. Okay, then, if you put them together, what would lean LEED be? Or LEED lean? It's, well, you know what LEED is. So, if lean equals waste, and LEED is how buildings are designed and constructed and maintained, then you extrapolate, you get LEED would eliminate the non-value added activities during the design and construction process and optimize how the buildings are maintained. Thus, okay, if we look at some ways that LEED eliminates waste during the design of a building, and then we'll look at construction and then operations. So, the traditional model. Architects and engineers design the building. They hire a bid person, and then we go and build it. Okay. The communication is this person starts, then this person goes, and then this person, that person, that person. Well, if you look at it in a lean format, they're all talking all at the same time. So what are the potentials here? Cost of the initial is high, but the savings and potential, the potential is high, the savings are low at the beginning of a project. Okay, and they go up as you get to occupancy. If we were to design leanly, using the integrated project delivery format that looks at increased value, deletes or removes the non-value added capacities, and reduce waste and maximizes efficiency. Some of the key features of integrated project delivery would be the collaborative aspects, where they're all talking together and bringing problems up before they actually are in place, which will save on some of the other areas. It's goal-driven, so you know exactly what you're going to do before you do it. It's holistic. It's thinking of whole systems, not just one part and then the next part and then the next part. It's structured. It has a way to deal with the problems that will arise. A lot of times this process is facilitated. Someone will direct you through what do you do first, who do you talk to, how do you talk to them, what has to happen next, gives you action plans to deal with. Some of the clear decisions are easily made then if you know what you're doing. Of course, when you're all talking to each other, you're being inclusive. You got your owner talking to your contractor, to your engineer, to your architect. And then hopefully that owner is bringing in the end users So they're all talking together in a collaborative formation.
If I can jump in really quick, I have a perfect example of a project that I did or I was on actually very near the beginning of my career. Turner was constructing a solar furnace, was the name of the building. It's actually I'll call it the university was running a process that would take solar energy that was reflected off of this 20-foot wide mirror, concentrated, and then they were doing something with magnesium oxide to, I don't know, do research on fuel cells or something to that nature. What we did is we ran it through a design build process. We had a certain target budget that we had to achieve. So we design, get the drawings ready. Yep, got them approved. That was on one side of it. We didn't really engage the donor who had this vision of a futuristic looking building that was incredibly high tech. Well, when he came in, saw the exterior facade that we had started putting up already, he said that this isn't what I paid for. This is not what I wanted. He said, if you needed more money because you were running out of money, then you should have told me, right? So here all along, we're thinking that, checkbook's closed. This is what we have to do. We have to meet this budget. And then this guy comes in and says, no, this is what I want. Well, okay, now here's the check to go do it, plus 8 weeks for the fabrication on radiused aluminum panels and everything like that. It could have saved 8 weeks of time from everybody's standpoint. Not to mention, if we could have captured that initially, we wouldn't have wasted the money on designing that exterior wall system, wasting the material that we had put up already. So integrated project delivery, if you can get all of the parties to communicate, really can help save and eliminate the waste, or very early on. Sorry.
A lot of times we bring a project in ahead of schedule because we're not dealing with a lot of problems at the end. So if you're dealing with a tight schedule, you know that if you do an integrated project delivery, you'll have, a lot of times you'll have a better product at the end and on time. Okay, remember we looked at the innovation is the green line here, the cost is the red line. What if you were the preferred or the traditional design process? You get to here where it crosses, your design process is just getting started. Or, you're just starting to bid here at CDs. What if all the work or most of the work was done back here at SDs, and then you wouldn't have a lot of the problems later on? How many people have a lot of changes, deal with a lot of change orders, are constantly dealing with change orders? Yeah. Integrated project delivery will help with some of that stuff, because you're already pre-thinking about it. What ifs are all answered before you get there. So the key factors: early involvement of the key participants. Like I said, get the architect, the engineer, the owner, the end users, the contractor, all talking to each other. You have shared risk. I mean, if you're all talking to each other, you know what all the problems are. You share and level the playing field. It's a collaborative decision-making process. Joint development and validation of project goals. I mean, everybody understands what the goals are because they all had the say in creating them. So there's no dissension at the end saying, well, this person told me to do that when this person told me to do that. And they're pointing in opposite directions. Or it's not me, wasn't me. That happens a lot. And a lot of times this type of project is very innovative. What are some of the ways that LEED eliminates waste during construction?
So having worked on a variety of projects from LEED certified buildings all the way through LEED Platinum buildings, I'm very comfortable with, at least on the version 2 and version 3 of LEED, of how the LEED process can eliminate waste and essentially then prove LEED is lean, at least in the material and resources aspect. So what I'd like to do is actually go through each of the ways or each of the main credits or categories of credits, if you will, that LEED has that could contribute in some fashion to the lean idea. So very first one, LEED MR1 in version 3. And I apologize, I have a very basic exposure to version 4 at this point. I haven't personally done any projects, so I've tried to pull in as many of those correlations as I could between the various credits. The first thing would be material reuse, right? That's, if we eliminate waste by reusing materials, then in that aspect, LEED MR1 and MR3 for that matter is applicable to the lean process. Structural building elements, I mean, that's quite frankly one of the larger costs that you get during a construction project, from steel to concrete to exterior wall systems. And non-structural elements, casework, floors, ceiling tiles perhaps. LEED allows you to take credit for those, based on dollar value of course, for the various amounts that you reuse. And it's clear that LEED encourages this reuse by having credits devoted specifically to the reuse of both structural materials and non-structural materials. I know in the LEED manual, at least in version 3, it continually refers to you know, the square footage of casework or the square footage of interior partitions that you could remain or could leave. And I guess looking back and stepping back and taking a look at it from a more systems approach, by not having to use new materials, by reusing your existing materials, you can not only decrease your waste stream from demolition, but you can also eliminate that new product stream and the transportation, the markup, the virgin material extraction, every bit of that process that goes into creating a new material. So all in all, with material reuse in whatever fashion it may be, structural, non-structural, or refurbished, reused products, LEED does seem to lend itself to the lean principle of eliminating waste when it comes to a material perspective. Construction waste management is another aspect of LEED that I mean, well, it's construction waste management. That's kind of LEED in itself, right? Or lean in itself, sorry. So I guess I'm right in the way. I apologize, guys. There you go. I'll stand back here. So if lean is the elimination of waste from a given process, whether it be manufacturing, whether it be construction, or even just your personal life, construction waste management and the credits in LEED are then therefore directly applicable, because you are determining how you can manage what waste does come out of that project and then therefore prevent it from becoming actual waste. I guess one way to look at this, the example I have up here, LEED allows you to take 25% of your material cost of steel products, any steel product, by default as recycled content. That's because there is an established waste stream for steel and iron products in such a way that we just know that whatever steel product you get is most likely going to have that basic amount, if not more, than what you could ever I don't know, I guess you could just assume. So LEED is, in a sense, hoping to push that and create the demand for recycled materials. Debra, you've probably noticed this over the last 5-10 years, just the amount of products that have some sort of recycled content in it, whether it be post-consumer or post-industrial content, has just exploded. I mean, everyone's finding a way to bring in some sort of recycled material so that their product can then qualify for recycled content as a whole. But I guess a little bit more on the waste management side of this. Construction waste management plans are a big part of the material and resources aspect of LEED. And actually moving forward, version 4, it is a prerequisite. Actually, it might be a prerequisite in version 3 as well. Not a prereq? No? Okay. It is in version 4, I know. But in some parts of the country, California, it is actually required that you submit a waste management plan to the jurisdiction. So you know what they say, whatever starts in California eventually makes its way to the rest of the country in some fashion. So I've been told by multiple people this will start becoming required when you're submitting your building permit, your drawings to the city, state, whatever it may be. Waste management plans, though, identify what materials you can divert from disposal, whether it be drywall, whether it be steel studs from putting up walls, concrete washout. where you can take those materials to have them recycled. And of course, then that's getting the waste stream or diverting from the waste stream, picking up that recycled material stream. But then at the end of the day, how can you divert the materials from the landfill itself? We don't want to throw unnecessary materials away, especially if you can get compensated for them in some fashion. I guess another great example would be on the several demolition projects that I've had. The bids that we get from the demolition contractors always take into account what materials they can sell. So they'll bring a bin, they'll throw steel joists from the roof, just like what we've got out here, throw it in that bin, they'll pick it up, and consequently their total bid then to us, if it includes that, is significantly lower. And they deal with the waste, they recycle it, then I don't have to deal with it and have an independent hauler. So there's a lot of opportunities to use the waste management plan to essentially reduce or eliminate waste on your jobs. I know LEED provides credit for 50% diversion, 75% diversion. This is version 3 again, and there's a innovation point for 95% diversion. So there's a lot of points that are given to properly diverting the waste and eliminating the waste then from
Not to mention that the stuff that you're diverting is actually a commodity. For my first part of my career, all the commodity money that we got, we pushed back into parties. The waste contractor would, buy the barbecue, and we'd have a party with all that excess money. So, yeah, it's a commodity. It might not add up to a lot of times, but sometimes it really can. I think on one project I had up to 10 parties. Contractors loved us. The more they diverted, the more food they got. So they were kind of happy with that.
So looking at new materials then, how is LEED, sorry, they're confusing acronyms, LEED lean when it comes to new materials? So looking at the 2009 version of LEED, everyone knows the recycled and regional credits, MR4 and MR5. And what that then entails, we've been talking about recycled there for a little bit, but looking at materials from a regional standpoint, if you're able to capture materials that are within your 500-mile direct line of sight distance, you're not only stimulating your local economy, local in a broad term, of course, and you can see here on the map I've got Detroit listed. We could get products out of Chicago, St. Louis, Kentucky, New York, Canada. There's a lot of
New Jersey.
New Jersey. There's a lot of places that you can get materials locally by LEED that would qualify. Now, some of the benefits of this, and in turn reducing waste, you eliminate excessive trucking. You're not putting granite on a ship from Italy, which, by the way, ships are one of the biggest polluters, just in case you didn't know that. Even though it's effective and cost efficient to transport it that way, it still pollutes a lot. So eliminate that waste of excessive transportation. In stimulating your local economy as well, you're providing jobs. People put money back into the local economy. You're not wasting money by sending it elsewhere and not supporting home. So from regional and recycled materials, there are opportunities that LEED lends itself to being lean, just by the sheer nature of keeping your dollars, I guess, close at hand. LEED version 4, though, slightly different, and again, I don't have a whole lot of experience with it. This is just the basic kind of high level that I've come to understand. But there's a couple different credits that are applicable. The environmental product declarations. Version 4 does strongly suggest doing life cycle assessments, or requires life cycle assessments of products. So you look at a product from when it's manufactured, its various environmental impacts, all the way from the beginning to when it could be disposed. And that's down a little bit further, kind of cradle to cradle also falls under that concept. Sourcing of raw materials. LEED is looking to manufacturers and producers to sustainably produce the materials. So now we have a disclosure on how, where, what that manufacturer is doing to, extract that material in a sustainable fashion. Are they digging it out of a quarry and then leaving a 200-foot pit in the ground for I don't know, some municipality to come and clean up? Or are they remediating it and somehow making it a golf course at the end of the day, or using it as a pond of some sort? Then of course FSC materials, material reuse, regional recycle, that all is still in there in some fashion. And regional multipliers. I believe that there was, LEED version 4 allows you to claim up to 200% of a material's cost as falling under this sourcing of raw materials category if it's within sourced, extracted, and manufactured within 100 miles of your project site. So they're really trying to push minimizing that transportation aspect and in a sense waste reduction by enabling, I guess, the use of local materials. And finally, material ingredients. Product declarations, the new version of LEED does require that a certain amount of products have a list of what is in it, not necessarily the percentages, but what does this desk contain in terms other than wood and the laminate, but what goes into making that all stick together. It has health benefits, which goes back to the elimination of waste of people's time, right? If you're out sick, you can't work, that's a cost. There's just a lot of different avenues that LEED is inherently lean in eliminating the waste that are more soft in terms of the new materials more than anything. Okay, so this is kind of a summary of what I just said. Develops that reused and recycled material chain, encourages sustainable products, local material consumption, and prefabrication. This is actually a really big one. So LEED has allowed for your material cost to be the, I'll call it the furnish-only price or the sell price of a material by a given vendor. So when I put on my LEED form, I ask my vendor, okay, how much did you pay for this piece, or how much did you charge me for that piece of casework over there? Now, the kicker with it, if there is on-site installation labor, that is not included. So, if those pieces were all brought out individually on that piece of casework there and assembled one at a time, that labor, that time for that guy on site to do that is not allowed in that material cost. But if it comes out as an entire assembly and they take that same amount of time in the factory, that is then manufacturing labor, which is allowed under LEED. So by prefabricating various components, whether it be casework, whether it be a steel assembly, some sort of decorative piece or architectural item, you are able to claim additional credit. What that gets to in terms of lean then, when you're on site, you inevitably run into issues. There's going to be delays. There's going to be someone in your way. The space isn't going to be ready. If you can manufacture those products in a controlled environment, you can eliminate that on-site waste. You show up, you bolt it to the wall, you leave. It's done. An example that I have here of prefabrication, and its really incredible nature. Many of you may have heard about the 57-story tower that was put up in China in 19 days. Yes.
19 days.
19 days. I heard that. I said, there's no way. There's no way that that's possible. There actually is a time-lapse video online. I didn't embed it in here. But they set 3 floors per day. I want to say they had like 6 or 10 tower cranes around the outside of the building. They did 3 floors per day. Well, I did a little bit more research on it, and it took them 4.5 months to fabricate everything in a factory. But still, okay, so let's take half a month for the 19 days and 4.5 months for the fabrication, and you've built a building in 5 months that's 57 stories tall. The last time I checked, any high-rise in Chicago or New York took a little bit more than 5 months to do 57 stories. Well, you also have
to finish it, so.
No, that's true, but the sheer fact that you can prefabricate pieces like this, and I mean, I'm looking at here, I see steel, I see probably some concrete, some metal decking. All of those fall under what LEED allows you to. So the majority of this building from a structural component would be allowed to be considered under Material and Resources Credit 5 in this case. Or sorry, 4? Yeah, no, 5, sorry. Because it's all shop made, right? It comes out as an assembly. The only site installation labor is putting together 3 or 4 bolts to hold the connections. You've actually just increased however many millions of dollars this takes, you can claim that thing. Which, again, you're more productive in a shop environment than you are out on a site. You're not dealing with weather delays. You're not dealing with, you've got a crane operator on strike, so he's not going to pick pieces for you that day for any, that 2-year duration.
They tend to be cleaner. So if you're dealing with IAQ issues, you've already eliminated some of that. So
prefabrication really is an excellent way to eliminate waste on your job site. I've seen instances on some Turner jobs, we've prefabricated stairwells, we've prefabricated bathrooms, and just basically slipped them into place and made a couple final connections. And yes, there's the time in the shop making that, but it's in a controlled environment, not like it is on a job site.
We do a lot of plumbing and a lot of HVAC. Comes in on skids and gets put up. It's done within a week. Got a whole building done.
It's pretty incredible. So prefabrication is powerful. That's really from the material and resources credits, the high level of what I could see. So Debra can speak to the operations and maintenance portion.
So we've designed a building. We've built the building. Now what does LEED do for the operations and maintenance? The end users. What are some of the impacts that operations and maintenance has, or LEED has on operations and maintenance? We have site impacts. So LEED looks at the stormwater management per se, or the commuting, alternative transportation alternatives. Those directly affect the occupants who are actually using the buildings. A lot of the LEED buildings are energy and water efficient. I mean, they've cut their consumption significantly. The indoor air environment, the quality and the thermal comfort, a LEED building is built around those features. Increased construction diversion and recycling. You'll see recycling bins, not as many as I'd like to see in this building, but there are recycle bins all over the building. The end users have that capability, and it's ingrained in the things that they do within their daily lives. A lot of the LEED buildings are built on the premise that they're durable, they're built for longevity, and they can be maintained. Of course, sustainability's core definition is to be maintained. Hypothetically, if we had a 1,000 square foot building, what are some of the LEED features that would affect the operations? Well, you have energy, you have water, you have materials, you have maintenance, and you have indoor environmental quality. Okay, we have a $100,000 square or 100 square feet, 100,000 square feet building. The average electric is 15.5 kilowatt per square foot, kilowatt hours per square foot, at 15 cents a kilowatt hour. Gas, the average building will have 27 therms per square foot, with a 90-cent per square foot per therm. So if we then do the multiplication of our 100,000 square foot building, we would have 1,550,000 kilowatt hours per square foot, or our bill would be $232 and $232,500 for just the energy, the electric. Okay, take that out for the therms. If we were to optimize 10%, which is the very baseline of LEED, we would save $220,000 per year, just that 10% on the operations energy. So it would be $25,680 per year. That's just 10%. Let's look at something that's less tangible. I mean, you're dealing with dollars and cents here. The effect of LEED has on the indoor air quality and human health. The most expensive part of doing business is the cost of the employees. The average cost of an employee's compensation package is $31.32 per hour. Our building would have approximately 250 people. At a year would be 2,080 hours per year. So our hypothetical company would spend for compensation $16,286,040 or $400 per year. Conservatively, if a LEED building could see an improvement and reduction of, say, 5% of the 6 days, so people wouldn't be out the 2.75 hours, that's not even a full day, we would realize $22,220 savings, just at a 5%. That's 2 hours and 2.75, so 2 3/4 hours savings. That's not even a full day of sick time. Not to mention asthma attacks, sick building syndrome, Legionnaire's disease, mesothelioma. All these things are created or were created by our buildings. We spend 90% of our time indoors. So if we can make our environments more healthy and people will enjoy going, then we could save some money. So if we look at some of the site aspects, of course we said reduce site impacts, reduce off-site impacts such as stormwater runoff. One of the guys this morning was talking about the sewage going into the river when they have heavy rains. It's like, okay, if you can handle your stormwater runoff on site, then you're not affecting the infrastructure. You wouldn't have that type of problem if everybody controlled everything on site. It inspires activity among the occupants with sidewalks and transportation. It encourages alternative forms of transportation and it fosters community. Those are very soft kind of numbers. Let's look at water. An average office building for a year utilizes the building 225 days a year, uses about 635 gallons of water per day. If this project, which is our 100,000 square foot building, were to see the 20% prerequisite water reduction, we would save 28,575 gallons annually. Affecting water purchase, that's purchasing your water, but not only that, but it's also the sewage that would go into the infrastructure. That's a lot of sewage if you cut that. And of course, you're not adding your stormwater either. Just think of the infrastructure we could save or less impact. Or the average renovation and construction project generates 1 pound per square foot of waste. If these projects were diverted 75%, we would save $21,500 in landfill and tipping fees. I mean, I'm all about the bottom number a lot of times. It helps people understand that there is a business case to LEED. Business case, lean, LEED, they kind of go together. Some of the tests or some of the research that the USGBC has done, especially with the green schools, LEED buildings or LEED educational centers, the kids test higher. Your employees are happy. They attract tenants. LEED buildings attract tenants. They see an increase in rental rates. If you look online and look for available buildings, there's one in the United States that's LEED. The rest are all non-LEED buildings that are available. So LEED buildings hold their tenants longer. And it provides a competitive advantage. I mean, we're all looking at the bottom line here. So they, when we surveyed maintenance costs, this is just happens to be green cleaning. You're building this building with the environmental impacts all, and then you go clean it with something nasty. I always encourage my owners to look at a green cleaning project. And I pull up this cost for green cleaning, and you'll notice that these numbers here are very close. Most of the money is the same, if not less, for a green cleaning program. So it pays to maintain your building and keep the environment as clean as possible. So if LEED is lean, then LEED would eliminate the non-value added activities during the design, the construction process, and optimize how the building is maintained. So you decide. Is LEED lean? Okay. Contact info, we will put this on the site.